Welcome to SouthPod, the first and foremost podcast created to tell the true story of tech innovation in the American South. SouthPod is hosted by Dig South founder Stanfield Gray and produced by Dig South Tech Media, the South's tech hub. Visit digsouth.com for details and join our membership group at dignation.co. This episode of SouthPod features Brandon Welch, founder of Doxy.me. Guess what, Dig Nation? It's the return of Dig South Tech Summit this July 28th through the 30th. The summit will be held both in person and streaming from the beautiful Satilli Theater at College of Charleston. Visit digsouthtechsummit.com for details. You don't want to miss the South's premier tech summit. Register now at digsouthtechsummit.com.
Dig Nation, you are listening to SouthPod. SouthPod is the South's top tech podcast where executives, founders, funders, and ecosystem supporters explore what it takes to succeed in the South and beyond. SouthPod is produced by Dig South Tech Media. The podcast is pre-recorded and captured in both video and audio. SouthPod can be found wherever you download podcasts and is broadcast on Facebook Live. New episodes are posted at digsouth.com and YouTube. Learn more, sign up for our e-news, and keep up with the South's top tech news at digsouth.com. I am your fearless host today of SouthPod, Stanfield Gray. And wow, do we have a brilliant guest joining us, the founder of Doxy.me, an associate professor at the Medical University of South Carolina, Dr. Brandon Welch. Doxy.me is the simple, free, and secure telemedicine solution. Founded in 2014 by Dr. Brandon Welch, Doxy.me enables healthcare organizations to provide virtual care that's easily accessible to everyone, everywhere, on any device. According to KLAS research, Doxy.me is the number one telemedicine solution healthcare organizations are relying on through the COVID-19 crisis. The platform currently hosts more than 800,000 healthcare providers who have collectively seen more than 90 million patients in 2020 alone. Doxy.me is HIPAA compliant, works in any browser, and requires no additional downloads. Welcome to SouthPod, Dr. Welch. Good to see you, Brandon.
Hey, thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Where are you located physically today?
I'm at my office at the Medical University of South Carolina. It's right in downtown Charleston.
Good. Well, we'll touch on your role at MUSC in a minute. And before we dive into how Doxy.me works and its current success story, let's touch on your Doxy.me journey from the origin at the University of Utah, where I understand you were completing a PhD in biomedical informatics to build up your expertise in training and health IT. How did your postgraduate work and other experience lead to the founding of Doxy.me?
Yeah, actually, I came up with Doxy.me while I was a PhD student, actually. I was working on a project where we needed to provide, we were working with pregnant moms, really, to see if we can streamline prenatal care. If you've ever had a child, you know that women go in for about 14, 15 in-person prenatal care visits. If you've ever been to one of these visits, you really just go stand on a scale, you measure the belly, and then the doctor will ask, how you feeling? Any issues? Nope, everything's fine. Okay, see you again in 2 weeks. And it's not a complete, but it's a large time suck and waste of time for a mom, especially if she's got other kids at the home. Like, do we really need for a mom to come into an in-person visit? And so the doctors at the University of Utah were trying to rethink, how do we provide care in a more personalized way, especially for moms who we know are low risk and don't need to come in. And being the technologist on the team, they said, Brandon, why don't you go figure out how we're going to provide prenatal care as good as in person, but without requiring moms to come in. And I was looking at maybe we can do phone calls, but you're kind of missing out on that personal connection. And this is back in 20 2012, 2013, and telemedicine was just starting to become a little bit more widespread because of the availability of high-speed internet and and web technologies that allowed video to be done over the web. And so I started to look out there, and FaceTime was starting to become a thing, and Skype was popular. And at the time, I said, well, we got to find something simple and easy. Why don't we just use FaceTime or Skype, because everybody's got a phone and we can do that. And when we proposed that to the University of Utah, they said, no, you can't use Skype or FaceTime. It's not HIPAA compliant. So go back and find a HIPAA compliant telemedicine solution. And I literally typed into Google free telemedicine software, and nothing came up. And I said, I can't believe there's no simple and free telemedicine solution out there for this type of use case. I just need something simple that a mom will use once or twice a month. And also, so I was looking at the HIPAA compliant solutions, and these were things by Cisco and Polycom, and they required hardware, they required this complicated technology to set up, and I actually have one of these old telemedicine carts here. These are dinosaurs. Nobody uses these things anymore, but back then that was doctors to do telemedicine. You had to have one of these carts. And like, this doesn't make any sense to have one of these complicated setups to send home with a mom just to meet HIPAA compliant requirements. And I was just like, this is crazy. It's a complicated technology that is available now, and there's no simple free solution. Yeah, I knew that some of the newer technologies coming out, like Webrtc, were HIPAA compliant or could be made to be HIPAA compliant, and were a lot easier to use than one of these complicated, expensive systems. And so I put the idea together into a business competition for students, and we won an award, and we got our first little, $3,000 that we used to go build the first prototype. And then from there, we just kind of said, hey, we got, some money, let's go build the next version, the next prototype. And I was doing this all while I was a student. And this wasn't my PhD work either. This is kind of on the side. And we just kind of bootstrapped it that way by building a small version, winning an award, or receiving additional funds for student ideas. Such that by the time I finished and graduated with my PhD, we had a product that was good enough to release to the wild. And so when I graduated, we had this product, and we said, let's just roll it out, see what happens. We wanted it to be free, so the cost wasn't a barrier to using it. We didn't have any outside investments, so we're kind of like, what the heck, let's just see what happens. And we put it out there, and the ball started to roll, and people started to hear about it, and they'd tell their colleagues about it. And over the next couple of years, we grew very nicely, slowly but nicely and consistently. We didn't spend much money in marketing. It was all word of mouth marketing, such that 2014 was released. By the time COVID hit in 2020, we had about 80,000 users, and we were doubling about every year. Which was nice. We were very happy with our growth rate. We were cash flow positive, not making a killing. It's just kind of enough to pay the bills. And as we earned more money, we grew a little bit more, and didn't try to do the whole raise money and hire a bunch of people and go to funding round to funding round. We just bootstrapped it because we were happy with that, the nice, slow, steady growth. And I'm a professor at the Medical University of South Carolina, so I had my research going on. And when COVID hit, we had about 5 to 10 employees working on the product, and we were very happy with where things were going. And then as we got feedback and users, we kept improving the product and making it better and adding features, so that when COVID hit and everybody needed a simple and free telemedicine solution that did what they needed to do, which is to see patients remotely, we were the best and pretty much only free option out there. And so we grew from about 80,000 users to we're up around 900,000 users now. Then these are healthcare providers who use us. So in a year, we 10x'd our number of users. And we've also grown from about 10 employees to over 100, 120 now to accommodate that additional demand. And so a lot of my time has been focused on keeping it up and running, but also as we bring in a lot of new people, train them around how we do things here at Doximy so that they can continue to push it forward without me having to be part of every single decision.
In the early days of the, iterating on the product, what were some of the, hard lessons you learned, or some of the most surprising things as you engage with the providers in your audience?
Early on in the days, we made a very smart decision very early in the days of going with Webrtc, and that came with some perceived disadvantages, but we weighed the pros over the cons, and we said this is a smart decision. So with the Webrtc, there's no download, so it doesn't require a patient or provider to download anything. At the time, Flash was the big video technology, and we're like, we need something simple that doesn't require Flash and doesn't require downloads. It's got to be, you got to click a link and you got to start a video call. It's got to be that simple. Flash just did not do that. There's this new emerging open source video technology called Webrtc. I think it was still like in beta stage, it was built right into the browser, but it was only built into Chrome and Firefox. And back in 2012, 2013, Chrome and Firefox had about 50% of the market. Internet Explorer had the other 50% of the market, and it didn't work on the Internet Explorer. And we said, you know what? We're going to miss out on that 50% who use Internet Explorer, but where the internet is going, the browsers are going, we saw this upward trend of Chrome and Firefox going this way, mostly Chrome, and Internet Explorer going this way. And at that time, it's about 50-50. But we saw in the next couple of years, Internet Explorer is going to die off and Chrome is going to take over. So we made that strategic decision to say, we're going to go with Chrome and we're going to forget about Internet Explorer and go all in on Chrome. When we started to take this out and to sell it, they said, well, does it work on Internet Explorer? And we're like, no, it doesn't. And they're like, oh, no, we can't use it because it doesn't work on Internet Explorer. And just like, everybody's got Chrome on, or Firefox on the computer, just switch browsers and use that. The experience is way better. And so, and that's what we did. And we probably lost some clients in the early days because it didn't use Internet Explorer. And we're like, we had to just let them go and accept that where the market was going was not where it was now. So we live by the philosophy of skate to where the puck is going, not where it is now. And we might, in the early days, we probably lost some customers. We didn't try to build for everything at the beginning. We saw where the puck was going and we said, this is where we're going, and we're going to forget about Internet Explorer. And that gave us a huge advantage and head start over any competitor that was out there, because they were trying to build for Flash, and then they kind of supported Webrtc, but not wholly, because they wanted to be the best solution for everybody. And we said, nope, if you're not going to use us, that's fine. But if you are going to use us, use Chrome. It's a better experience than Flash can provide. And you come to us, really. And that was a very smart decision, because by the time the rest of the industry figured it out, we were well on our way. We had tens of thousands of users, and it was hard for them to catch up at that point.
Yeah, you had the first mover advantage chasing the puck. I love it. So, fast forward to today, describe Doxy.me, how it functions, how it works, and tell us a little bit about your customers, the hospital providers.
Yeah, so Doxy.me is a simple telemedicine platform. It's kind of like Zoom, but for doctors. The difference is that it doesn't require any downloads. So the provider goes to Doxy.me and signs in, and everything's web-based, nothing to download. The provider gets her own unique URL. So mine is Doxy.me/Dr. Welch. And if you go to that link, type that into the browser, it'll take you to my room. And from the patient side, the patient will check in just like they do in a clinical visit. And they go to a waiting room where they wait for me to start the call. And on my side, I have a dashboard where I can see the patients in my queue, and I can start the call with whomever I want. And the patients are in the waiting room. They don't see anybody else in the waiting room. They're just waiting for the doctor to start the call. And so we built this interface that mimics the clinical workflow, right? So patient checks in, they go to a waiting room, the provider brings them back when they're ready. That's exactly how Doxy.me works, but it's all done through the web browser, the web interface. There's nothing to download. Patients don't have to create accounts. They just click the link and they type in their name and they're in. So it's super easy for patients. They don't have to create accounts or remember passwords. There's nothing to download. It's simply just click a link and it goes to the room. And so providers will send text message reminders, hey, come to my room. at this time, click this link, and they click it and they're able to do a call from the phone. Again, nothing to download. And so because it's so easy for patients, it's easy for providers, and it's free. That's why so many providers have signed up and used this. And that's why we've received so much usage, because it's so simple. And that's all we do is that video piece and a little bells and whistles around the video piece. We're not trying to be an electronic health record. We're not trying to do patient population management. We don't store data. We don't store patient data. It's really just a pure video play. And because of that, it's so simple and easy that providers really love to use it.
So you've removed all the friction and taken the kind of one-click Amazon approach to it.
Yep. And that's really, we said, what is the job to be done? And the job to be done is providers need to see patients by video. And we just said, what's the simplest way we can achieve that, accomplish that job to be done, and get rid of all the other clutter and everything else around it. Strip it down to just that. And that's what we provide, and we provide it for free. And that's why providers love us. And they often tell us, don't change anything. We love the way it works, and keep it simple. And they just love it. And so we focus on maintaining that simplicity.
Have doctors discovered that it's either more difficult or easier to kind of assess a patient or get a feel for them remotely? Are they discovering new insights based on the environment in which a person logs in?
Yeah, absolutely. So our biggest challenge before COVID was, oh, I don't know if I could do this with my patients. It sounds too complicated, and I don't think the care is as good. I won't be able to touch and feel them. And so those were the concerns that we were overcoming to help people sign up for telemedicine Doximity before. Well, with COVID, that just pushed everybody over the edge and said, you have to do it, otherwise you're not going to, be in business much longer. So it forced providers to try something they might not have been comfortable with before. But guess what? Lo and behold, they try it, and hey, this is pretty good, and it's convenient, and my patients really like it because they don't have to travel and park and sit in a waiting room and take half their day off of work. And I've talked to so many patients who are like, I love Doximity. It's so simple, and I don't have to go anywhere. And they talk about they love Doximity because it's so much more convenient for them, such that now that COVID is melting away and we're going back to normal life, a lot of patients are like, hey, I don't want to come to the clinic. I just want to stay at home and do this because how simple and easy it is. And providers have done it, and there's like, there's not really much of a difference, especially for any type of follow-up visits or education visits or test result. You don't need to come in and for me to give you the test results. Let's do it by video. And providers are even finding out that they're more efficient because on video, you don't have the obligation to feel like you have to make the full use of the patient's time because they spent all their day coming in to see you. It's just like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what we're gonna do. You good? Yep. Okay. Awesome. See you next time. And providers are finding that the visits are shorter and just more efficient, and everybody's happier. And so they're finding more time in their day. They're finding that they can provide care just as good, and it's just more convenient for everybody all around. So telemedicine is, for many ways, has become part of the mainstream of care delivery because of COVID. And we don't see that going away to pre-COVID levels because of the values that people have received from doing it over the past year.
Mm-hmm. Well, in ramping up to your current numbers, you mentioned that you've gone from 10 to 100 employees, and I understand that you're hiring. Could you tell us maybe a little bit about the elite talent you're looking for, the positions? This is a two-part question. So first part, who are you looking for? Second part is, what does a day in the life look like at Doximity? What could someone expect around your culture and and how people work within the organization?
Yeah, over the past year, we just had a flood of users come in, and we just had to take anybody off the shelf and plug them in and say, go figure it out. We were literally hiring waiters and bartenders who were laid off at COVID just to come in and answer chat support, right? So these people don't have a background in healthcare. They don't have a background in technology, and we had to teach them. And it was good because we were able to ramp up really quick and get people doing their job. But they also don't have a ton, not everybody has the ton of experience. We've spent a lot of time training and teaching and raising up the level, and we've been doing that. And we have a program that helps our employees learn about healthcare, learn about growth, learn about product development, so they can get to the level that we need them up. So it's all about raising the level, raising the bar, and providing that training that they need to get up to that level. So a lot of that work over the past year has been a lot of training people up to that level. Now we're at a point where it's we view our team as we want to be, instead of an army battalion where you got hundreds of thousands of people, very specialized jobs, and just only do their thing, only stuck in their position. We are working on building a team that's more like a Navy SEAL type team that's highly lethal, highly effective. We raise the bar and say, we're only going to accept top talent into our team, but this top talent will be able to do everything. They'll be able to parachute, they'll be able to scuba dive, they'll be able to shoot sniper rifles and snap somebody's neck if they have to. And so we want to we're focused on leveling up our current team to get to this elite level, but also recruiting top talent that are highly capable of doing things very well, but also doing a lot of things very well. So we look for entrepreneurs, people who know how to do marketing and sales and support and product development and whatever needs to be done to get the job done. We look for these people that are highly effective, that can work across different domains and incorporate all these different domains into getting the job done. That it's not just like, oh, it's not my job, I can't do it. No, it's, if you can do it, get the job done. And then also technologists are always hard to find. It's hard to train up people into a technology type position. So we look for two types of people: either people who are technical and technologists who understand technology and how we can make the use out of it, and opportunities to say, hey, this is a new tech coming down the road, we can use that to help providers do X, Y, or Z, so they get it. And then entrepreneurs, people who are really highly specialized or highly capable of just doing whatever it takes to get the job done. And those are the type of people that we look to hire at this point going forward. And then also, once they get in, we look to raise them up even more. So we have books and certificate programs that we've all taken that have got us up to this level that we push people to take. We focus a lot on usability, user-centered design. And so one of our initiatives is that everybody in the company, even the HR person, has to be certified in user experience or UX certification, because user experience is one of the core tenets that made Doximy successful, because we have such a good, simple user experience. I come from a user experience background, and so everybody, it all goes back to having a good user experience. And we're gonna give up a UX vetoes any other decision that's made. So if a finance person comes and says, oh, hey, we can make a little bit more money if we do X, Y, or Z, but it provides a worse user experience, we say, nope, not going to do that. It's not worth it. And the UX usability and user experience trumps everything else. And so, and as part of that, everybody gets trained in user experience in the company. And then we also provide training paths based upon if you're focusing more growth type stuff or product, to get trained in how we do product development. And we're also, we don't structure the company in the traditional sense where we have like a marketing team and a sales team and a support team. What we've structured it around cross-functional teams. And so we have teams that focus on small clinics. And on that small clinic team, you have somebody who knows how to do marketing and sales, and somebody who knows how to provide support and how to do user success and user training. And then you have a solo provider team that has all the same functions all work on that same team. And so we have essentially a series of small startups within the company working on specific segments. And that small startup has everything in that team to make that segment as successful as possible. And so we view the other way of breaking up by marketing, sales, and success is bureaucratic and slow. And we get essentially a bunch of, like I mentioned, the SEAL teams. We have a bunch of SEAL teams focus on specific user segments and go after making that segment as successful as possible. And we give them all the tools that they need to be successful within that segment. And so how the day in the life of Doximy, you get put on a team, your own SEAL team, and you figure out what it takes to make that segment successful. And one day you might be doing marketing with everybody on your team. The next day you might be dealing with something with and customer success. and some type of support issue. And it's whatever it takes to make that area, that segment successful is what you and your team work on, and you're around other smart people who understand the user, understand the job to be done, and go after initiatives that help that segment be as successful as possible.
So you're looking for people who are very comfortable in a multidisciplinary, cross-functional environment. You're looking for that cross-pollination,
Yep.
and all on a UX foundation, through the user experience.
Yep.
Fantastic. Can you touch on maybe some of the innovations that you're currently developing, something that's non-proprietary possibly, or just in a general sense where you see the platform headed in, say, 2 to 3 years?
Yeah. So we've got a fantastic platform and foundation to build upon, which is the video piece. And we're going in the direction of replicating the in-person clinical experience remotely. So if you go to a clinic, you go to the doctor, you go and you check in, you go to the waiting room, you see the doctor, and then when you're done, you leave. We've got that now. We've got the essentially the foundation of that now. But we're constantly going back to that workflow, that user experience, and saying, well, what can we do to make something else in that experience better? One of the areas that we've identified is the check-in process. When you go to an actual clinic, you often have somebody at the front desk who takes your name, maybe takes a little bit of information from you, takes your co-payment, and sometimes you have to go back and fill out a little checklist or an intake form or something like that. And right now, we don't have that within Doxby. People are replicating it by having an actual person intake the person and do it by video, and they send documents beforehand, but that experience is kind of clunky. And so the areas that we are looking at is saying, how can we automate that in-person experience? And we have another technology called DocBot, which is a chatbot that doctors can use to collect information from patients. And so it's a bot that asks patients questions, and as they respond, it gathers that information for the provider. And so one of the areas that we're going is taking this DocBot, and introducing it to the check-in flow for patients. So when patients check in and say, hey, Brandon's here for my appointment, and the bot will say, hey, Brandon, glad you're here. Dr. Smith has some questions for you. And they'll start asking questions, which essentially is what the intake form is. It's there to gather information. And then the bot could also say, oh, it looks like you also have a co-payment of $20 to pay. Let's collect that now. And then the patient can enter their credit card. And so we're essentially going to be automating the whole check-in process using this bot on Doxby. Other areas that we're looking at improving that clinical experience is things that have to be done manually, but that are required in healthcare, but need to be done manually, such as documentation of a visit. Right now, a patient comes in, they're having a visit, and then the provider has to go over to the EHR and document their clinical visit and take notes and stuff like that. And so we're looking at things of how can we automate that. Everything's around automation for the provider to make their life easier. So we say, well, look, we have access to their video and their audio feed. Why don't we use that audio feed to transcribe the conversation, what's happening, and see if we can do natural language processing and pull out key elements, and then provide a structured summary for the provider that they can just say, yeah, review sounds good. Awesome, save. And so we're automating a lot of these manual functions for the provider because we have access to the video and the audio that we can leverage. If you go in person, you don't. There's not a technology or anything listening in to the provider and patient experience, and so that documentation would have to be done manually in person. But through Doxby, through the platform, because we have access to the audio and video, we can start leveraging that advantage that we have to start automating a lot of things that can't be done in person. And so the direction we're moving is to say, let's first replicate all of the things that are done in person. Let's replicate that virtually. So we are as good as in person. But let's take the advantage that we have, which is access to video, access to technology, the convenience, and the ability to the medium, the web medium and the technology medium, to take it to the next level where we can automate the check-in process, where we we don't necessarily need a human to check the patient anymore. We can automate that through technology. Let's automate the data collection piece, because we have access to the audio and video capabilities through the Doxme platform. And let's take it to the next level. We're not just replicating the in-person experience, but making an experience that's better than the in-person experience, such that providers will want to use Doxme and want to do video visits over this platform because of the additional advantages and the automation that we provide through the platform that can't be done in person. And that's really where we're going, and focusing on those type of things.
I understand you're not collecting individual data on the patients. Are you collecting anonymized data and looking at, like different trends between?
Yeah. Yeah. So right now we collect de-identified anonymized data. So when you check into a Doxme call, we know nothing about you. All we know is that Dr. Smith had a call with a patient at this time and it ended at that time. That's all we collect. One of the things that we are looking at doing is providing an opt-in opportunity for patients if they do want to have their information stored, that we will store it in a HIPAA compliant way. And this will allow the experience for patients to be easier. Because if I come in and I check in and I provide my credit card, if I provide information about myself during the check-in process, and it's there for the provider to use, and then I say, look, I'm going to opt in and I'm going to save this, so the next time I check in, I don't have to re-enter this information every time, but I can have the opportunity to review it and edit it if necessary. It's going to make the patient experience better. And anything else that's documented and recorded during a visit will be attached to that patient's record. But again, it's up to the patient to do that. It's their information, and they have the authority and the control over their own health information. So that is another direction that we are moving, is to provide patient information, provide the ability for patients to have their information recorded in a HIPAA compliant way, so that makes their experience easier in the future.
So it looks like we have time for one more question. Looking into your crystal ball, thinking about AI-driven technology, natural language processing, and where you're evolving to, what do you think Doxme and telemedicine look like, let's say in the year 2030? Are we going to produce really remarkable outcomes for patients in general? Are people going to live? Will life expectancy increase? I mean, what are some predictions you might share with us?
I would say by 2030, it's going to be similar to how we shop now, where the majority of shopping is done online, and only when you really have to or you need something right away do you go in person for shopping. And I believe by 2030, telemedicine and the technology is going to advance far enough that it's going to be more convenient and easier, more accessible to do these visits online. And only emergency visits or things that require a doctor to actually physically touch you or to do something to you will you go in for in-person visits. Telemedicine is not going to remove in-person visits altogether. It's going to augment that in-person visit. But just like shopping is today, where it's a lot of times majority of shopping is done online, it's more convenient. You're going to see that with telemedicine in about 10 years.
Fantastic. So today on Southpaw, we're very grateful to welcome Dr. Brandon Welch, the founder of Doxme. Thank you so much for joining us, and let us know if we can do anything further, connect you into the Dig Nation network. How can people find out more information? What's the best way to reach you?
That is a great question. I think that just send me an email at brandon@doxy.me.
Brandon@doxy.me. Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Guess what, Dig Nation? It's the return of Dig South Tech Summit this July 28th through the 30th. The summit will be held both in person and streaming from the beautiful Satilli Theater at College of Charleston. Visit digsouthtechsummit.com for details. You don't want to miss the South's premier tech summit. Register now at digsouthtechsummit.com.